You know that friend who always says, maybe next time, and actually means it? The one who cancels plans at the last minute, and then feels strangely relieved afterward. If that's you, this video isn't about excuses, it's about understanding. Loving to stay home isn't about being boring, and it's not about disliking people. In fact, many people who prefer staying home are deeply thoughtful, observant, and emotionally aware. What's usually happening has less to do with personality and more to do with how the nervous system handles energy. Some people recharge through stimulation. Conversation, movement, shared activity, it fuels them. Other people recharge through quiet, through fewer inputs, through spaces where nothing is demanded of them. For those people, social interaction can be enjoyable and still draining, not because something is wrong, but because their system processes everything more deeply. They don't just hear conversation, they track it. They don't just notice faces, they read them. They don't just exist in a group, they adjust to it. Tone, timing, background noise, unspoken expectations. Each one is small, but together they add up. So when someone says, I had fun but I'm exhausted, they're not contradicting themselves. They're describing how their energy works. Staying home isn't withdrawal, it's recovery. Home feels different for a reason. It's predictable. You control the lighting, bright or dim, warm or cool. You control the volume, music, silence, or nothing at all. You control the pace. No rushing, no deciding when it's polite to leave. Outside the home, the brain stays slightly alert, scanning, adjusting, reading the room. At home, that alertness can finally soften. There's no social math to solve. No micro adjustments every few seconds. No need to manage impressions. Your body doesn't have to stay braced. The silence isn't empty. It's spacious. It gives your thoughts room to stretch out. The routine isn't boring. It's stabilizing. It gives the nervous system something familiar to lean on. For many people, that sense of control doesn't feel restrictive. It feels like exhaling after holding your breath all day. People who enjoy being alone often live very full lives. Internally, from the outside, their days might look quiet, minimal, uneventful, but inside, there's movement. Thoughts wander without interruption. Ideas connect slowly, deeply. They replay conversations, not to criticize, but to understand. They imagine possibilities, different outcomes, entire worlds that never need to be spoken out loud. This isn't isolation, it's reflection. And reflection needs space. When there's less noise, thoughts can finish themselves. Emotions can settle instead of being pushed aside. Meaning has time to surface. That's why staying home often supports creativity and clarity. Not because solitude is better, but because some minds work best without competition for attention. Of course, not all staying home is the same. Sometimes it comes from simple tiredness, the kind that rest naturally resolves. Sometimes it comes from overload, too many inputs layered too closely together. And sometimes it comes from something heavier, anxiety, emotional weight, a nervous system that feels stretched thin. Those experiences matter. They deserve understanding, not assumptions, attention, not labels. But preference isn't pathology. Choosing quiet isn't automatically avoidance. Needing space isn't the same as fear. Enjoying solitude doesn't mean something is wrong. The difference isn't what someone does, it's what happens afterward. Does staying home bring clarity or deepen withdrawal? Does it create steadiness or leave things feeling heavier? Context always matters, and that context is often invisible from the outside. For many people, staying home isn't about hiding from life. It isn't about shrinking, and it isn't about disengaging from the world. It's about alignment, about living in a way that matches how their energy actually moves, rather than how it's expected to. They don't want less connection. They want connection that feels real, connection that isn't rushed, that doesn't require performance, that doesn't leave them feeling scattered afterward. They tend to value depth over volume, presence over visibility, meaning over momentum, less noise, more clarity. When connection happens on those terms, something changes. They show up more fully. They listen with intention. They respond instead of react. Not louder, not faster, just more honest. And in a world that often rewards constant motion and constant availability, choosing stillness can look like withdrawal. But for many people, it's the opposite. It's a way of staying connected, to themselves first, so they can be present with others in a way that feels sustainable. Staying home, in that sense, isn't a retreat. It's a recalibration, a quiet return to balance. So when you think about your own energy, pause for a moment. Notice what actually restores you, not what looks productive, not what's praised, but what quietly brings you back to yourself. Do you recharge in quiet spaces, where your thoughts can slow down and finally settle? Or do you come alive in crowds, fed by movement, shared rhythm, and collective energy? Neither is better. Neither is wrong. They are simply different nervous systems, learning how to stay balanced in the same world. And when we understand that difference, something softens. We stop pushing ourselves to move against our own nature. We stop misreading others as distant or disengaged or less invested. Instead, we allow space for rest, for depth, for presence that doesn't need to perform. And in that space, connection becomes quieter, but more real, not louder, not faster, just truer.